Hello again, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Three Bridges, and a further update on this scene here, which is where my Uxbridge underground lines cut under the Chiltern and the goods line. So there's quite a lot goes on in this scene. So as you can see, there's basically 9 tracks, and I'm trying to work out how I can do the scene so that the tracks at the back are sort of more representative of what's happening today, because obviously it's the East Coast West. So I've got a small scene planning where they're sort of installing the new fencing going on, so that, and removing the old picket fencing that I sort of remember from my childhood along the sides of the railway. With the underground, when I was down a few weeks ago in London, you sort of notice that these days there isn't just one layer of the tracks line side wiring. You get about three sets basically, because they've updated stuff over the years. So I'll keep it as just one for now, because this is sort of representative of back in the sort of 70s and 80s when I was travelling up and down. But it's quite different today. Yeah, so we'll see how the scene progresses. Still doing quite a lot of scenics. And then another area that I've been working on is just this scene here behind my sort of disused goods shed at the end of the goods yard. So I'm just sort of having some disused track and wagons, which I need to graffiti up a bit, I think, because they wouldn't just be sat there looking dirty, they'd be covered in graffiti by now. So as you can see, I've started doing the goods line, some sort of ballasting and hedges to it. I need to have a fence, and I need to get some rail paint, because this should be rusty rails. This corner here, so this is a strut that basically supports the framework, so I need it. So I'm just going to make a small building, and they don't have to be square. This one's not going to be sort of this shape to fit the landscape. So I've made a template. I'm just checking it'll fit. And then what I'll do, because we're quite close to How on the Hill, so I've still got this design made up in Inkscape, which is sort of this building at the side of the main entrance. So I'm going to reuse this to cobble together another London Underground building to go here. I'll have some of the wires coming into it as well and feeding around to the underground lines. So again, I can put a bit more of the timber surf trackside cabling trunking in. Anyway, we'll see how we get on. So if anyone's interested in scratch building, I'll show you quickly how I put this one together. So I've basically printed out the sides from that original building, How on the Hill. I printed it out twice, okay, so, and then where you want to have the window openings, I sort of cut those out from the second piece, and this one's going to sit on top of here. This one will get covered in brick, and obviously it will show the windows through. So with this building, what I find is, you know, if you can see it and it's a really important building, then yeah, you do the windows and have the glazing and stuff like that. But a lot of the buildings, when you look at them, you know, the light's not on inside, it's dark, you can't see into the buildings. So you don't need to worry about creating the glazing and then, you know, doing the sticky label method and peeling it all off and then having to put a black background. I basically just do it like this, because it's just a small building that just, you know, gets seen in a panning shot. So I'm not going to worry about windows. That one's not going to be there. And then the same at the end, there'll be a door, another window. And then this one's the curved wall. So this is actually you're going to see this building from the other side. So there's obviously the embankment for the goods line. So there's no point in having anything here. It would just be a brick wall. The windows are on the other side, which you actually can't even see, you know. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not worrying too much about the glazing. Maybe if I had eventually I suppose one day I'll have a camera on the track and you'll see it maybe just briefly. So that's where I've got to so far, and then it's going to have a sunken roof, a bit like the other building. So there's a wall up and there'll probably be a bit of graffiti up there as well. So I've just put these strips on. These will support the roof structure. So the next time you see it, it should all be with the brick finish. Appreciate this may seem a bit rushed, but in fairness, I don't get a lot of interest in my scratch build videos, so I'm not going to spend too much time explaining things. Well, back at the scene. So I've just been so middle of September I went over to Denmark and Holland, and I managed to get some notch this sort of stuff. So the static grasses in sort of 9mm, and they've got them in a sort of brown, dark green, the yellow and the strawberry yellow that you're seeing a lot of at the moment with autumn coming, and then a sort of bright green. It's interesting to see all the Macklin rolling stock in the shop in Utrecht. So that was quite fascinating. The detail on theirs is, again, I think very much like the Americans. So it looks like UK's playing catch up on detail. And travelling around on some trains over in Denmark, which was good fun as well. So the building's done. I'm still just trying to weather it up, sort of give it an ivy feel up the back, and applying a few more of these sort of tufts of grass between the sleepers on around the old rolling stock that's sort of disused in the yard. I watched a video, there's a guy I watch, I'll put the name up on the screen, and he basically just said, you know, don't overthink it, just get the basic scenics down sometimes. So on the brown board, so he sort of shows a bit where he just scenics up in like 20 minutes, a whole section, with glue, brown paint, and the basic scatter. So I did the sort of same here. It took me about 15 minutes just to get the majority of this basic scene down with the track laid and all the ballast, and then I've been adding the sort of clumps of the greenery and stuff, but I need to get more yellow in, I think, as well. So, but I'll just slowly let this bit evolve, and then the line side building, if I can try and show you. There's the Azuma heading down to London, so I suppose about 4 hours away, I think. Well, I'm walking the dog again. I tend to do is clears my head, and I also tend to spend a lot of time thinking about various things I've got to do at the house, but also in the hobby, and also what I'm going to do for the videos. So I sort of mentioned in August I was getting a bit of YouTube burnout. Just wasn't really happy with the format I was doing, so I've decided on a new format. I'm going to try for a few months, see how I get on. So I'm going to just focus on one scene on the layout. As all the track is laid on the lower level, and it's all running fine, and basically all the framework's done and everything. So it's really just scenics now. And I had sort of said, 2 years to do the lower level, and then 2 years to do the next level up, and 2 years to do next level up. I can see that the scenics, the lower level, is going to take me longer than, I won't get it all done by Christmas, which would be the 2-year timetable. And I don't see the need to rush it. I think I'm quite enjoying just focusing on one scene, letting it evolve. So what you've been watching is obviously where the Uxbridge track undercuts the Amersham lines and the goods line, and so I'll carry on working on that for a couple more weeks, I think, just to finish it off. I've got a clear idea now what I want to do. There's the cross country heading up, so that one's come up from Plymouth or Exeter. Must have left really early, or maybe just Birmingham, because I don't think it would have made it up from what time was it, 8:30. It's probably come from Birmingham. And then what I'll do at the end of the video, I will do a very short just roundup of all the other stuff that's going on in the loft, because there's always other stuff going on. And so just very briefly, so that you've more for my documenting the progress on the other bits, so we'll show that. Anyway, hope you enjoy the new format. Let me know if you want to, and as always, thanks for watching, and enjoy your modelling. And it's apple scrumping season. You can tell autumn's here. So a very brief roundup on other stuff from the month. Obviously been away for 2 weeks on holiday. Only gave me a couple of weeks. But so whilst I was away on holiday, I sort of made up a mock-up of a couple of buildings. So this one here's the Marylebone signal box. So I remember it, she sort of came in out of the tunnels. So I'm going to have some tunnels here. But at least I've got a plan now for the whole scene. There'll be the back wall, and then this structure. So I will carry on making it up to the final shape in the future. What I'm going to do, that I've decided with Marylebone, and it'll be the same with Uxbridge, because it's quite a large section to plan through. It's so Marylebone's 3.5 meters long, this sort of scene. I'm going to make mock-ups of all the buildings that I'll have in the final layout, just so I can get the feel that everything's sort of working together in the right sort of scale. So, and what I've also, as well as, also I've just got my 2 tracks coming in and out. There were 3 or 4 tracks coming into Marylebone, and behind at this point here, there was stuff that went to the old engine sheds. So I'll put up an image on the screen, so that'll go there, and behind it there'll be a little bit of flats. And then this is position for the old milk dock, as they called it. So I'll put up another image, you can see that, which is quite near the turntable part. I've got a couple of sort of old weathered up tankers from old Hornby stock that I'm never going to run, so they're still on the plastic wheels, but I had a go at trying out doing some weathering, and I quite enjoyed that. So just doing a little bit more with the airbrush, keep practicing, keep trying it. And then there's going to be further buildings down here, but that'll be for October, so I shouldn't really talk about it, should I? The scale of that feels right, so I'll put some old Hornby track in as well, so that I can have, I've got a couple of the GMU units that I can't really use because the motor's broken from the old Triang, so I'll have them sort of sat in there being repaired. What else is there to show you? How unweathered up these two.